Hello, this is Daniel. I hope you're doing very well and enjoying this coming into the beginning of holiday times, particularly for those in the US. Welcome to another video. So this video I am calling Standing in Your Center, Stand in Your Center. And this may not be for everybody. So let me tell you a little bit first about who this video is being made for, because if this doesn't sound like you, then as wonderful and entertaining as this is likely to be, it's probably not worth your time today. I'm going to be sharing some of my personal story of what I've been going through recently to help to bring out some of these things I want to talk about and give you some tips at the end for how you can apply this to your life right now. But it's not going to be for you unless you're somebody who at this point in your life is kind of falls into one of these few categories. So one is that you feel like you have a purpose, a mission, a reason to be here, something that you're here to do, and it doesn't feel like your life is actually that right now, or not as much that as you'd like it to be. Or if you're somebody who at this point in your life is really feeling a profound desire to make changes and is scared, unsure, not moving forward on things that you are sensing, feeling, knowing need to be moved forward on. Yeah, that's basically it. So somewhere you really, if you're like, if all's good in your life, no problems, everything's going, pretty well, I would suggest moving on. But if you're really looking for something where your life is aligning with what it is you feel like is really important to you, or what you're here to give, even if you don't know what that is, meaning you have a sense of mission or purpose, or really wanting to make an impact in the world and you're not clear how to do it, or if there's things that you know you need to change, or changes you need to make in your life and you're not making them or afraid to do it, then let's grab a cup of tea. It's kind of late here as I'm doing this video, so I got my cup of tea. And let's sit and have a cup of tea today, because I want to have a talk with you because I've been having conversations kind of like this with my clients and friends lately. And because now is a profound time, and I want to explain a little bit about why that is, why it's impacting you, maybe helping you to understand why you might be feeling the way you're feeling, and how to move through it and move into a place where you are happy with what you're moving forward on. So get in a relaxed place and let's sit and talk for a little bit. So, what kind of tea did you make? Or are you a coffee? I'm more of a coffee guy, but this time of night it's tea. So right now, if you've received this from my newsletter, there'll be a link to a video further down the newsletter about the astrology of this time. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but I find it's a helpful backdrop for me, and it might be helpful for you. So I'm not going to go too much into detail because I've spoken about this in previous videos, but this whole year has been this push for us to clarify what's important to us and to begin making the changes to align our lives with what we're discovering is most important to us. And one way that happens is by becoming more and more clear of what is not important to us, or what no longer serves us in our life. So this year has been a year of a lot of difficulty for a lot of people. Maybe that's you. And it's been me. And for me, who's had a lifetime of making big changes in my life, number of them, about every 10 years or so, huge changes in my life, this has been the time where it's been kind of the most profound. So that's what's going on. The universe is seeming to push us and say, look, it's time. It's time. So any sense of urgency that you're feeling about making a change, whether it's things that need to be gotten rid of, you feeling like you're not where you should be, even if you don't know where that is. Urgency, there's a reason for it. It's because the universe, God, spirit, however you want to, what word you like to use, is pushing you. And that can get uncomfortable. So the reason why I'm making this particular video at this particular time is because this next week, really kind of through the end of November, but particularly this next week, there's energies coming in which are here to significantly help. And there's ways to really take advantage of that. And I'm going to give you some tools on how to do that a little bit later. But to understand that, to be really blunt about it, my dear fellow human being who's maybe having a really difficult time in his or her life, it's time to really to make the changes that need to be made. So, and the universe is coming in to support us with those energies to make those changes. And so if you can align with that, things can go maybe more smoother, more easily, more quickly, maybe still not easily, but more so than you imagined. And if you continue to fight against the changes you know you need to make, that also might get more difficult, because the energies coming in are energies of expansion, of enlarging energy. So kind of wherever you're at, it's going to help to expand that energy. And then there's energies around our self-value and really pushing us. I want to use that word because that's how it's felt to me. Like, oh my God, I'm getting like pushed into really getting clear for ourselves about who I am and beginning to value myself in how I live my life and the decisions I make to honor that value. So these are the energies coming up this week. And the energies around self-value, as I talk to my clients, it's like this seems to be one of the major themes through this year, because relationships have been up big time, kind of relooking at them. And what I've seen for myself is how I show up in relationships is a reflection of the value that I hold for myself. And so these themes about how do I see myself? Am I worthy? Am I capable? Are my desires important? What the hell do I really desire? What do I really want? So maybe this is a good place to share with you a little bit about what my year has been like, and maybe you can find yourself in this story a little bit. And I'm gonna offer this what I'm hoping is that you'll be able to see yourself in it and realize that the struggles you're going through are not alone, because my story is the story of the people I'm working with right now. Many of my friends, different details, but basically the same story. So for me, about a year ago, I'd been really struggling and working on things around self-confidence, self-doubt. And what I had learned because of work I'd been doing on myself for a few years, going back to a really awful relationship I left a few years back, was that because of my history in this life, also in previous lives as I've seen, one of the major themes in this life has been looking at something called narcissistic abuse. And I won't go into it too much in this video because that's a whole nother thing, but being in those kind of relationships, for me being codependent, being an empath, that there are certain kinds of ways and things that develop in me, in one, around those kind of relationships that basically end up, for me, putting my needs second to the other. And so, so my needs are not this is really unconscious. I wasn't like consciously thinking about that, but my needs are unimportant, and a sense of I don't really have much to offer. And even though my mind knew that I had a lot to offer and I was really doing good work for people, et cetera, and kind of have my whole life, I could look at the facts of my life and say that's BS. Still inside me, it was just like feeling really a lot of doubt. And as I was trying to grow myself professionally, I was running into that because to do something like this, it's still really hard for me. I've been going through it all day today, knowing I need to make this video, and like I want to make this video, but it's like, oh my God, so much internally going on that doesn't make sense to the conscious mind. So that's one thing. Maybe you're experiencing that. This disconnect, it's called cognitive dissonance in a way, is that there's part of you that's telling you one thing, another part that's telling you maybe even the opposite, and like what the heck do you do with that? So this was a theme I was really taking on a year ago and working on that, etc. So as this year played out and I was working on that, kind of getting into the energies of this year, this last summer, as I like to call it, I had 3 earthquakes in my life. One was ended up basically, it's a bit of an overstatement, but it gives the energy of it is basically I had a tremendous amount of money taken from me from an employer, and in revenue I was going to earn, which was just devastating. And then about 3 weeks later, had an absolute epiphany out of nowhere one night about the person I was sharing my life with, that when it played out over the following weeks proved to be true, and I just knew I needed to move on from that. And but the last thing I expected would happen in my life. And then another totally unexpected thing happened about 2 or 3 weeks later. Somebody very important to me, something very disturbing happening, and realizing I needed to separate myself from that relationship. So in a matter of a few weeks, my whole world fell apart. And it's the most profound and wonderful thing that's happened to me. It's been really damn hard to deal with. But I have tools I use in order to get through it and do the healing work, so I've been able to move through it profoundly quickly. But the thing is about life changing and me being forced to follow in those moments, in those 3 moments, and they were each different. They each had their own dynamics, that I actually started to follow my heart in a deeper way than I ever had. And so when I say stand in your center, that's another way of what I mean is actually to stand in your heart and be willing to follow your heart, not your head. And by doing each of those, and as I dealt with the practicalities of how my life changed as a result and how it affected other people, etc., I was discovering that who I was becoming different, because I was no longer keeping myself in these relationships, in these situations, that I was assuming a role in which I was putting myself secondary to another. And I had no idea, even though I'd experienced this before in a profound way about 5 years ago, even though I'd experienced it before, what I'm about to say, I still had no idea in these situations how, as I moved away and sorted out the sort of the vertigo of being in these new spaces in my life, because my practical life had changed, that was beginning to start to realize how much I had been keeping myself down by being in those situations with these people and in these circumstances. So it's been profound. And I would never have known that had I not made those changes. What caused me to make those changes? This. Can you see this? Yeah. This showed me and said, no, that's not right. You can't do this to yourself anymore. You can't stay here. So there is a part of us, and it shows up for us in different ways. I'm now calling this the heart, but our body, maybe your gut is telling you, or maybe an ongoing health issue is telling you that the situations in your life are not good for you. And those can be many, what I'd say, situations. It can involve people, relationships, all kinds of things. So I'm sharing this with you because I've ended up moving on from all of those. I'm now in this place where, as I described to a friend of mine the other day, I'm in this place between places in my life. I'm no longer in that old place. And I'm no longer in the place that I know I'm going to because I can feel it. I can feel it calling me. And as things have been unfolding for me, I'm doing more video professionally. I'm doing more videos. I'm doing healing work with people that I wasn't doing in the same way. Things are expanding in ways that, first of all, it's happening really quickly. And second, in ways that I didn't actually see. How long ago was that? 2 months ago, 3 months ago? I actually didn't see the kinds of things, some of the kinds of things I'm doing now in my life. I didn't see them because I couldn't see them when I kept myself stuck in those situations. So, what am I trying to say? So the thing is, luckily I made some notes because I knew I was going to ramble a little bit, is that if something in your life is telling you, nudging you, maybe kicking you, that's time for a change, I'm gonna implore you at this point, because if you've been watching my videos, this is a theme I've been pushing for the last little while. But what we're going into now energetically is really taking this whole thing up another level. And if you're feeling those kind of movements in you, now is the time to say yes to them. Is to stop fighting them and start with just saying yes. And ask for help. That's the first thing. Is to cut out the ambivalence. Because our mind wants to know everything's going to be okay, everything's going to be okay, everything's going to be okay. And we want to know what it's going to look like and where we're going, etc. But maybe you saw a little bit in my story, because on one hand, my life, if you were to see the details of my life, it would be like, oh my God, how could you be like, how it's like, because there's just so much up in the air in my life right now. But the internal experience day to day is I have this most profound sense of peace at the bottom of my experience, which has been quite consistent throughout this whole time. Even though it doesn't happen like this much anymore, but pretty early on, I was spending hours every day crying my eyes out because there was so much grief that needed to be processed. And even as that was going on, and not knowing, okay, my gosh, I'm living in this foreign country and I don't know anybody, and where am I going to live, and et cetera, a lot of really challenging stuff. That one, there was this underlying peace because, well, I don't know why, but I'm gonna tell you why I think, is because I'm actually following my heart. And I wasn't fighting this thing that was had been poking at me for a while, and it just kept, because these situations with all three of these people, there were always things that I could see and were bothering me, didn't settle right, but I always put myself second. No victim here. I did that to myself. It's like, no, not now. That'll wait, because I didn't think that I anyway. In terms of valuing myself. So this whole thing about self-value has been up big time. So the thing about making this move though, saying yes, you say yes, ask for help. So when I realized in each of these situations that something was really not right, I did a couple things. One is I asked for help. And for me, I talked to physical people in physical bodies and said, hey, this is what's going on, can you help me? And I talked to my team, the people that help me do my work, the people that help me live my life, people that don't have bodies that we can see. We all have access to energies, to intelligence beyond what we think of as us, however you want to think of that. And if you say help, if you really sit and say help, so this can look like prayer. It can look like sitting and meditating and opening up by asking for guidance. Universe, show me. Archangel Michael, help me here. And with sincerity of heart, open up. You will get guidance. I have no doubt about it. And if you can dare to believe that maybe that could happen for you, then you'll be there to register it when it comes. Actually, if you got this here because of the newsletter, there's one of the things in this week's newsletter about this, about being that our ability to perceive what we actually see and experience in our realm of senses is determined very much by what it is that we're looking for. So one is to stop and say yes. Two is to do the healing work. And so to keep this simple, because this isn't about healing, but is like when you're scared, when you're afraid, when you're confused, is to just stop, take 5 minutes. Tune in to where in your body you sense that feeling. Go to it with love, with devotion, with interest. Hello, I'm here. Show me what you have to show me. What are you afraid of? You're confused. I see you're confused. I'm here for you. It's okay. Be there for yourself. Love yourself. Love yourself that much that you'll stop and be with that part of yourself that's freaking out. Because these times that we're coming into, my dear friend, for this next decade, are going to be times of great, great, great change on our planet. Look around. It started already. There are things that can't continue as we move into building a very different kind of world. Ways of being, these structures, organizations, etc., that play on fear, that play on power games, etc., are falling apart. Things are changing. You're needed to be in your heart, living the life you came here to live. So we're moving into very different times in which it's going to get even more difficult to know what's true, what's real from what isn't, what pertains to us, which doesn't. And living from here is the way through. It's the way to actually have the life that we came here to live, to give in the way that we came to give, to make this the kind of world that we want to live in. And right now, coming into this next decade, it's like a birth canal. That's the only way I can describe how I'm feeling and how I've felt now for a little while. It's like we've entered this birth canal, being birthed out to the other side to the next iteration of our lives. And how we kind of go into this birth canal, which is what's happening right now, is going to determine in quite a large way how we come out the other end and what the life is going to look like for me, for people my age, likely, and it's like for the rest of our lives, for the next 35 years. So the choices you're making now have kind of significance that I think is really hard for us to understand, because we're lining ourselves up for what we're setting up for ourselves going forward. So I have some dear friends that have had conversations for a long time about, realizing, feeling, want to change, and finding it incredibly difficult, which it is, it's challenging. And if you don't make those changes, you're quite likely to kind of imagine having the life you have now continue on for another 35 years as the things around us are becoming more chaotic. You may not want to have that kind of life. If you're listening this far in this video, there's a part of you that really doesn't want to have that kind of life. And I'm going to ask you to take it seriously, that part of you. Take it seriously, because the choices you're making now, the actions you're taking, the things that you are choosing to remove from your life because you're aware, at least to some degree, that they are not serving you. Trust me, when you get rid of that in your life, you will start to see really clearly just how much they weren't serving you. And the kind of cruel trick, in a way, is that you don't get to see that until you've made that choice and you remove yourself from those situations, or you distance yourself from the situations. And because you start to change, the energy you're in, the kind of things that are affecting you is different. You can then realize and look back and go, oh my God. I mean, I have these moments today happen again where I have this memory of my life. Hell, this was 4 months ago. I have a memory from that life, and I just go, oh my God, I can't believe I was allowing that to happen. When it was happening, it was just life. Yeah, maybe it's like, whatever, but it was just life. Now, with distance, with doing healing, with moving forward, with asking for help, with aligning with these energies, by following my heart, by when my heart speaks up and says, and I just feel some grief, I sit with it, I end up crying my eyes out for 20 minutes about stuff that I don't even know what, but my heart is saying, finally, you're letting me get this stuff out of here. Finally. Actually, that just reminds me. Again, in the newsletter, now I'm starting to see why I chose those particular things for the newsletter. The video by Adrienne about the astrology really talks about this. I mean, she mentions this at one point. It's like there is such old, deep, unconscious energies which are trying to be released from us right now. And that's part of why you feel the way you do, maybe. And it's hard to understand because you may not be in touch. What happened with my client today. But it's amazing. Like, you just find some space, you allow this energy to come up, and it's like, wow. And suddenly the heart's lighter. Things seem clearer. Being a human being who is waking up is way weirder. Is way weirder than you could imagine. And it's a way more interesting way to live life. Because with each step you take, let me say it a different way. With each step I take, and I've been taking steps for 30 years now down this path, I'm at a point now where, finally at 57 years old, I feel like, there's a lot in my life that isn't the way I want it to be. But how it is to be in my body, be living my life, I just feel this deep sense of peace, knowing that even though this isn't the way I want it, the kind of work I'm doing isn't where I want it yet. I'm seeing the vision of what it is that's being created through me, and it's not there yet. And I don't know how it's going to get there, but this vision was born in me. It was given to me, and I'm choosing to trust it, and I'm choosing to believe that I can do that. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I haven't known how I'm going to take every step I've needed to take these last 3 months as I work my way out of these situations. And if you follow my work, I teach this thing called the 3 keys about living from this place of not knowing. It's what makes miracles happen. Saying yes to your heart, saying yes to your intuition, being willing to not know, bear the challenge that makes for the human being by getting support, by finding friends, by getting guidance, by finding ways to support you to keep trusting, but you keep walking. And this week, this feels urgent to me because this week there's profound help. Not that there always isn't profound help, but this is from the astrology, from the astrological energies. There's this profound help coming in to help expand, to help elevate. Say yes to that part of you that knows you have something more, something deeper, so something more authentic, something more true. So let me finish this up because I have no idea how long I've gone on here. And say yes, ask for help, reach out for support. Okay, I got those. Good. So now 3 things that I kind of have covered already. But to be really kind of blunt about this, I don't have my cards with me here, but is for this week, I'm going to invite you to take yourself seriously in your life, maybe more seriously, and not in a heavy way, but like, hold on a second. This funky dude on the video is telling me that this is a week where I can really make headway and really get to where I want. And he's been saying this kind of thing for a while, and he seems like a nice enough guy, and maybe he's got something, and I'm willing to trust it. So, say yes, ask for help, reach out. Now, in terms of making movements, 1, this is the way it's coming through, bury the dead in your life. Find those things, take it, gently, but move on something which you're really clear no longer serves you, and begin to move it on out of your life. Actually make that move. And there may be scary things in your life that need to be done. So it's just a hard time right now, guys. It's just a hard time of making hard choices. And so do it in a way that honors yourself, right? Where you're not like completely freaking yourself out. But now is the time to make hard choices, because it really, and I just believe this to the bottom of my bones, that the choices we're making now are gonna just have profound effects for, if you're my age or so, talking about the rest of your life. So it's time to start making hard choices. And maybe that those moves actually happen incrementally, but I'm kind of pleading with you to not put them off, not continue to put them off. So bury the dead. The second is to plant some seeds. So the things that you're feeling like you want to move on, or maybe you're interested in checking out, do it. Check things out. Make moves. So if you feel like you might want to do this or check out that, is actually do something in that direction. It doesn't mean you have to like throw your whole life down a certain path, a certain direction, but make moves. Make moves. because spirit can't move dead weight. But if you start to create movement, then the help which ask for it, because then they can come in and really help you. But when you're moving, then help can come in and say, okay, great, but no over here. But if you're just standing here and being scared, and I know this stuff can be really scary. I mean, it can be really scary. And it's time to believe in yourself. It's time for you to stand in your center. Take responsibility for you and your life and what it is you came here to do and give. So plant the seed, try stuff out, and be really good to yourself as you're doing this. Recognize that you're doing things that maybe you've been avoided doing for decades. And be a kind, gentle, caring guardian to yourself as you do it. Take care of yourself, see what you need, support yourself, reach out for help. You have my email, reach out to me, write me an email. Daniel, I'll be happy to answer it. But it's really important to me that I get this across so that you have the opportunity to take advantage of this opportunity this week and move into something, because we're moving into a time where once we get into 2020, things are going to be moving forward quickly. Things are going to be changing very quickly in your life, in what we know is life, is going to be changing very quickly on so many levels. You want to be in your lane, driving your car in the way you want to drive it. And now's the time to make those choices that get you moving to where it is that you want to be, even if you don't know where you want to be. You don't have to know. You just have to say yes. Begin to make moves. Start learning to listen to yourself. Start practicing trusting. And make some hard decisions. So I give you much, much, much love. And I mean it. I'm very serious about this. If feel free to send me an email, reach out to me. But do it soon, because you can send me an email a month from now, 2 months. That's fine. But this particular time is a time where energies are, it's really like aligning. So come, let's do this. Let's do this together. Your uniqueness, my uniqueness, all of our uniqueness, which can only emerge when we don't keep ourselves stuck in other people's agendas for us in our lives, is needed right now. So thank you for listening. And my tea's probably cold, but I'm going to finish my tea. And just know that I love you very much, and I support you to do what you need to do for yourself. Know that you have at least one person supporting you to make those choices, because those choices may not make sense to other people, but other people have their own agendas. They're not necessarily bad people. They just have their own agendas. So bye for now. See you soon.